Welcome, everyone, to the first ever live show of my own show, The Mauldin Show. We have a lot to talk about. Some recent news has just come out. We're going to jump right into this. Hope you're all having a fantastic Monday. Good start to your day. We all know what we're here to talk about. And let's just get right into it. I was going to do something else, but then some recent news came out. And it's time to talk about it. So the Denver Broncos have elected to trade Von Miller to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for some day 2 picks from the Rams of this upcoming draft. I am a Denver fan. I'm a Broncos fan. You all know that from my recent videos. And I am seeing Twitter right now. Broncos fans are freaking out. Broncos fans are not happy. And I totally get it. I get why. Fans are not excited. They are, of course, thinking that this is a bad move, or at least some that think, that it's not the best move that they could have made. And I totally understand that. It's not like I am in love with this move as a Denver fan, but I also understand it is the right one. Because let's put it this way. Denver is not in a win now mentality at this point. They tried to win now, and it didn't work. That much is clear. They tried to win now, and that did not work. And now Denver is going to have to sell off. Now, I have seen some people say that it's weird that the Broncos will be retaining half of Von Miller's salary. If you don't remember, the Broncos signed Von to a 1-year, $18 million contract this upcoming year. I'm not that upset about them retaining half the salary because it is only a 1-year contract, and it expires after this year. So Denver will not have to worry about that this upcoming year. That frees up cap space. It'll be the Rams' problem to pay him. After this upcoming season, and that'll be their issue. Let them deal with that. I know Broncos fans are going to be upset. I was going to discuss this on Broncos Country News, but I wanted to talk about this now. It's hard for people to let go of franchise faces, myself included. I own 2 Von Miller jerseys. I've been in love with Von since he was here. It's hard not to feel sadness. But this is inevitably the way things are going to go. This is the realm of sports. You got to learn sometimes that it's time to trade people off. And you don't like it. It's not easy. But welcome to life. This is sports. This is what it is. Eventually, the franchise face has to move on. Nobody really gets to finish their career where they started. It's rare that happens. Jerry Rice had to go somewhere else. Tom Brady went somewhere else. Joe Montana went somewhere else. Brett Favre went a lot of places. Von is not the first Bronco to move on and finish his career somewhere else, and he won't be the last. DeMarcus Ware was a big part of that Super Bowl winning team, and he finished his career here in Denver. He didn't finish in Dallas where he started. I'm sure Cowboys fans would have preferred that, but he came here instead. It's better to trade Von now than the compensation than to lose him in the offseason for nothing. Because Von would have been a free agent after this year. I don't know if Denver brings him back. It would have been different, but it's part of the business. And I know fans are going to be upset. And I did see one comparison. I get it was kind of a joke, but I did want to address it. Like saying that it's like when the Rockies traded Arenado to the the Cardinals, and then the Rockies paid him. That's different. The Broncos are only paying half of a very reduced salary. The Rockies paid $50 million that they didn't have to. They didn't have to pay that. I don't know if it's that the Rams wouldn't take on Von's full contract, though. Then again, I don't know if anybody can take on the contract. I think Denver would have had to retain some salary no matter what. And it's also, again, just part of moving him. It's weird to look at it that way, but I don't think this is like, look, Nolan Arenado was in his prime when the Rockies moved him. He was in his prime. And look, they all knew that trade was coming, and the Rockies botched it. I think Denver got better compensation. I heard some people say maybe they could have traded him last year. I don't know if that would have gotten them much, because if you remember, last year, that didn't really add much. And last year he was injured. Last year, I don't know if you tried to trade him last year. I don't know if you would get any value. I mean, who's going to pay a good value for a guy who's not going to play, who's going to ride the bench the entire year? It's a weird move to make, but it's the right one. It is right for the Broncos to do this now than lose him for nothing. So, Broncos fans, back away from the ledge. Don't back away from the ledge. Don't get just calm down, okay? This happens. Everyone has to do this. Some people lose their franchise faces for nothing, and sometimes they just leave them for agency. It's fine. Maybe you just couldn't get any value for them in the trade. But if you can't get value, get it. I don't know if this will be the last move Denver makes. They have until tomorrow, November 2nd. And, of course, we're doing a show tomorrow. So I expect we'll have a lot of insanity tomorrow for the trade deadline. So, Denver fans, welcome to part of a rebuild. This is how to do it right. You move off the veterans, and you make moves now. I'm not surprised that this is the last move Denver, if this is not the last move Denver makes. Kyle Fuller will probably be moved. This should speak something. Kyle Fuller was the prize free agent of Denver's offseason. He's already been benched. Not only has he been benched, but when the Broncos needed a corner to go in yesterday in their game against Washington, they went with Nate Hairston. Nate Hairston. A guy who hasn't played that much at the NFL level. A guy who has only kind of been bouncing around on the practice squad. So that's who Denver was going with over Kyle Fuller. I think Denver could get some value for Fuller. I don't know if they will trade him, but look, fire sales rarely happen at the trade deadline, if ever. Fire sales don't really happen at the NFL trade deadline because in the NHL, MLB, and NBA, it's different. Obviously, with draft lotteries, you can have compensatory picks. You can slide protections in for certain picks. You can actually add certain things. You can add certain stipulations. Can't truly do that at the NFL trade deadline. Most of those deals happen in the summer. So I don't know what I really don't know what is going to happen at this point. Denver has traded Vaughn to the Rams, but now let's talk about the Rams aspect. Oh, baby. So you already have a defense that is pretty good, one of the best in the league. You add Von Miller to a unit that has Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Are you kidding, LA? Are you kidding, Rams? Sean, what is this? You're adding a very good linebacker to a unit that already has it. Now, granted, it's more like a one-year rental, but it adds something to the defense. Like, you've got to be kidding me. You're adding Von Miller to a core with Aaron Donald, with Jalen Ramsey? Are you kidding me? And the Rams, apparently, they're fine trading their draft picks like candy. For the Rams, draft picks are nothing to them. Draft picks are, man, drafting is not in the Rams' arsenal. They prefer to just kind of stick with just making these moves. Man, LA has no intentions of ever being near the bottom of the league or rebuilding at any point. The Rams are determined to stay at the top as long as they can. I don't know if that's Snead. I don't know if that's Snead, the GM of the Rams. I don't know if that's Sean McVay, the coach of the Rams. Maybe it's both. Man, talk about making some moves. I'm impressed with the Rams. You know, getting Matt Stafford, getting Von Miller to add to an already stout defense, having Aaron Donald ready. It's hard not to like what the Rams are. And it's hard right now not to have them as the favorite to win the West, because for every move that their opponent makes, they one-up it. It's hard not to be impressed with the Rams. I must give the Rams a round of applause. They made a very good move. They got the trade done. Now, how this will impact them, we know what this is really for. This is for a playoff run. This is for January. And I do think that if the Rams have to go play Tampa Bay or if they have to play Green Bay, obviously one of the two big NFC powerhouses, they will definitely have a chance to beat them on the road. Oh man, I'm excited to see how this plays out for these teams. I can't wait to see it. The Rams obviously have a lot to move forward with. We know what they're making a push. They're pushing all their chips at the center of the table. They're going all in on this year. Not that I blame them for it. As for Denver, you acquire some pretty good compensation, and now you can use that capital if you possibly need to ever trade up for a player. Maybe that player is a quarterback. Maybe you can go make a deal elsewhere. You're Denver. You have options here. You can go make trades to in the next year to really upgrade yourself. There are options here for the Broncos, and I think it's the right move by George Paton. So that's enough about the Von Miller trade. Let's talk about the NFL week, this past week in the NFL. Man, there was a lot. We're not going to talk about every game. We don't have all the time in the world for that. But what we are going to talk about is some of the games I want to highlight. The first one I want to highlight is Steelers and Browns. This felt like one of the most frustrating games I've ever seen. Both teams seemed to be kind of handing each other chances to win. It felt like when the Browns had a chance to seal the game, they're like, no. Pittsburgh, you take it. And then when Pittsburgh got a chance to win the game, they said, you know what? No. Browns, you take it. The Browns are frustrating. And the reason that the Browns are frustrating to me is because I think the Browns are a very good team. I think most people would agree with that. I think the Browns are a very good team. And I don't think it's that Odell Beckham is holding them back. I don't think it's that Baker is holding them back. I don't think it's just one thing. It's not just Kevin Stefanski or the injuries. It's not just one solitary thing. It's easy to say it's one thing. It's easy to blame it all on just one thing and just say if they didn't have this problem, they'd be like 8-0 or 7-1 or 5-2 or 5-3 or 6-2 or whatever. It's easy to say that. I think it's the Browns as a whole. I think they're a good team and I think they'll get this figured out. But I would also say they are beating themselves. That's why yesterday was so frustrating. Yesterday felt like the Browns beat the Browns, if that makes any sense. The Steelers didn't really do much. They just kind of sat there and let their opponent self-destruct. I don't know what Cleveland was doing. I don't know what they were thinking. That's not good, though. That is not good. Because you cannot afford to give your opponent more chances than they need. Baker played all right yesterday. Wasn't spectacular. He was all right. Threw some really nice passes near the end of that game that could have helped them win that game had Landry and Odell caught the ball. But at the same time, their offense has been stagnant. The run game really couldn't get anything going. And they lost Jack Conklin, who's a great part of that line as a right tackle. That's going to hurt for them. Denver is kind of in a situation where Denver is sort of embracing the youth movement with the young guys. The Browns are sort of the nice fruition of that movement. They've embraced their young guys. They're playing them all, but the Browns are frustrating. It feels like they could be more, but they're being held back. I don't know what the fix is. I don't know if that's trading Odell Beckham because I don't think he's the sole issue. I don't think it's moving off Baker because I don't think he's the sole issue. Injuries are a huge factor into it. I don't know what the big fix is here, but the Browns have a lot of people. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but it's going to be hard in that division. You have two top-notch teams in your division right now, in Cincinnati and Baltimore. So it's time to see what Cleveland's going to do to rise to the challenge. And they got the Bengals next week. And the Bengals just lost to the Jets. I guarantee the Bengals ain't happy about that. And they got a rival coming to town. If you know anything about Joe Burrow, he's a competitor. And he's not going to let that slide. Speaking of the Bengals and the Jets, let's move on to the Bengals and the Jets. Mike White had been in the NFL for 3 years, never played a game before. Never came in as a relief effort, ever. This was his first ever career start. The Jets are dealing with a lot of injuries. They are just absolutely decimated on both sides of the ball. They're not very good. They're a very young team. They're not that experienced. Robert Saleh is kind of learning how to navigate this ship in his first year as a head coach. And the Bengals are riding high. Number one team in the AFC. Well, currently. They're the number one seed in the AFC. And Mike White, against the number one AFC seed in a head-to-head duel with Joe Burrow, proceeded to go 37 of 45 and 3 touchdowns. Now, there were 2 interceptions, but I don't know if those are necessarily his fault, because if you watched the game, both interceptions were the results of bad deflections. The first one, he throws the running back right in his hands. It hits him on the face mask, and it pops up in the air, and it's a gimme for Jesse Bates to go out and snag it. The second interception, he throws it right at the running back. It hits him in the chest, pops up in the air, and Chris Hubbard goes out and snatches it. Those are bad luck for Mike White. So if we take those 2 off the board, he had an 82% completion percentage. 82%, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. If I'm a Bengals fan, don't panic. Don't panic, Bengals fans. This happens to everybody. Can't believe I'm actually saying that. You play down to competition. Good teams do that sometimes. Just don't make it a habit. Just don't make it a habit. That's your thing. Just don't make it a major issue. Because when it becomes a major issue, that's when we have problems. So don't worry. You're fine. As long as you don't make it like a continuous trend. Jets fans, happy Halloween, right? I mean, Mike White. Where did this guy come from? He was the backup on the Jets for no reason. He was the backup on the Jets. Never did much. And he just drops it out of nowhere. He drops it out of nowhere. And it's there. I don't know what this means going forward. I imagine Mike White is going to start going forward every game for the Jets. They do play Thursday night, so I imagine they're going to keep him there. Now, whether this is just a flash in the pan performance or if Mike White actually has something is to be determined, I personally think it's the latter option. I don't think Mike White is some hidden gem of a superstar. He could always be. You never know in this league, but of course he could always be in him. He could be something. I don't know, but that had to be fun, right? Punching the number one seed in the mouth continuously in your own stadium with a backup QB that nobody had ever heard of. Got to feel good for Robert Saleh, man. He looked like he was having fun out there. There was a very controversial helmet-to-helmet hit. That wasn't really a helmet-to-helmet hit. It was in the final quarter of the game. The Bengals make a great tackle. They look like they're about to go get the ball back. They have all 3 timeouts. And helmet-to-helmet targeting, even though he really didn't hit helmet-to-helmet. I didn't see the penalty personally. I didn't think there was a penalty. I saw the play. I saw what happened. I didn't think there was a penalty. I know Bengals fans are going to be pissed about that, and that's fine. You have every right to be upset, but it's not really the fault that you lost. They had a lot of mistakes. They made a lot of bad plays. Bad things happened at the worst times. Brush it off, learn from the defeat, go back and win your next game. That's all you can do. Another game I do want to talk about, the Vikings and the Cowboys. Oh, boy. Mike Zimmer's seat just got a little warm. Or should I say warmer, as in it is scorching hot. So the Dallas Cowboys are dealing with their own little bout of injuries. They're forced to start Cooper Rush because they have nobody else to play. They are forced to play Cooper Rush in place of Dak Prescott. And everyone just thought, guaranteed win for the Vikings. Come on, you got a fully healthy Vikings team that has their starter against a Cowboy team that doesn't have their quarterback. Easy win. Easy win for the Vikings, right? Yeah, about that. The Cowboys proceeded to win the game 20-16. Not a great offensive showing, but Cooper Rush went 24 of 40 for 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Not a bad game. In fact, if my math is correct, he had a 60% completion percentage. It's not bad. He had 2 touchdowns. It was enough. Vikings. what what the hell? What was that? You had that game. It was a given for you. And you blew it. Oh man, if you're Mike Zimmer, I don't know how you I don't know how you live that down. You have a team on the road. You're at home. You are at home with Cooper Rush as your opponent, and you lose. I don't think I need to say anything else. Cowboys, congrats, you pulled it off. Vikings, what was that? I think it might be time for Zimmer to go. And no disrespect to him, he did a lot for Minnesota. He took him to some heights that they hadn't seen in years, including an NFC Championship game twice. But, well, actually, no, just once. He only took him one time. My mistake. He took him to an NFC Championship game, but I don't think he can take him any farther. Can you name a place for them to go? They're kind of just stuck in limbo. I don't know what's going to go. I don't know what they're going to do. It's tough. But congratulations to the Cowboys. You found a way to win with Cooper Rush, but for the Vikings, that's got to be tough. And I don't know what's going to happen to Mike Zimmer after this year, but you have a lot of changing of the guard around here at the NFL level. Okay, so now let's talk about the Patriots and the Chargers. Man, that one was fun. I am very impressed with how Bill Belichick schemed up for Justin Herbert. I remember the last time that the Chargers played against the Patriots. It was in LA, and the Patriots just dismantled LA. It was ugly. Herbert had one of his worst games of his rookie campaign. Made some bad mistakes. If there's anything Belichick feasts on, it's young rookie quarterbacks. He knows how to completely ruin them, no matter how talented they may be. Mac Jones looked pretty solid out there. Not fantastic, but again, right now, I don't think he has to be spectacular for New England to win. He just has to do enough, which everything I thought he did enough. I thought Mac Jones did enough for New England to win. He went 18 of 35, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, not mind-blowing, but it's not awful. It's enough because the Patriots had a great rushing attack going on. They made some nice plays on defense. They did just enough to win that game with Mac Jones doing his part. Sometimes that's enough on the road against an opponent. Now, I do want to say, I know it's been a joke for a long time. I do feel bad for the Chargers. I mean, like, you've got a quarterback that people would love to have in Justin Herbert. Very talented roster. Lots of cool names. Lots of sexy talent to put on that name. You got a head coach that fans love. Every day has a new quote that I love. Brand new stadium. New uniforms to sell yourself. And the stadium is flooded with Patriot fans. What's it going to take, man? What is it going to take for them to get some fans in the stands wearing their jerseys? Championship, probably. Feels like the Rams have kind of already seized LA as their city, in terms of football, at least. Well, sort of. I mean, the Rams have made the playoffs for the last 5 years, and it looks like they're going to make it 5 out of 6 now. The Chargers will have to be better than the Rams, and then they're going to have to elevate themselves because the only teams that seem to really elevate themselves into the status of being loved by Los Angeles, no matter what, are probably the Lakers and the Dodgers, maybe. But that's like it. Everyone else has got to earn their way there, or else, LA doesn't truly fall in love with them. Like, we saw the Kings make those cup runs, those underdog cup runs, and people fell in love with them. But now it's just, I don't know. the Kings are rebuilding at this point. I don't think anyone's going to those games because the Kings are rebuilding. That's how LA is. There's too much to do, too much to spend their money on. But the Chargers are really good. That's why I don't get that. The Chargers are a good team. They're a really good football team. They're first in the West, AFC West, and they'll probably win the division. They'll probably make the playoffs. So what's going to happen? I don't know what's going on with the Chargers. Man, I do feel bad for them, though. I just want to touch on that. I do feel bad for the Chargers. Now, the Bucs and the Saints. So Jameis Winston tore his ACL. He's out for the year. That really sucks for Jameis. I liked what I was seeing from him. He looked like he progressed. He was fitting nicely in the. He was fitting just nicely in the Sean Payton offense. No reason not to like what you were seeing. So he gets injured. He's done for the year. Tore his ACL, MCL damage. It's bad. It's a lot of structural damage to the knee. Trevor Siemian, who I forgot was still in the league. I remember he had come on to the Saints during their preseason. But I thought that was merely just to play on the preseason games, maybe play on the practice squad. Because I thought the depth chart currently was Jameis Winston and the Taysom Hill. I'm wrong. When they said the backup QB was going in, I'm like, okay, Taysom Hill. No, Trevor Siemian. And wow, the New Orleans Saints, who apparently they might be the new Miami Dolphins. They might be the new Dolphins. They're just Tom Brady's kryptonite. They managed to hang 36 points on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Superdome. It's very impressive, very impressive. Siemian, 16-29 with a touchdown. He did just enough. He had a pretty good game. He threw completions. It was mostly the Alvin Kamara show, honestly. Alvin Kamara, he kind of just did everything, receiving, running the ball. Everyone else, it was just kind of pitching in. It was a fantastic effort. The Bucs forcing, the Saints forcing turnovers on defense. It is hard not to love it. I liked what the Saints did against the Buccaneers. And again, it might just be in the regular season, the Saints are his kryptonite. Now in the playoffs, it's a different story. But I didn't think the Saints were going to have a playoff year this year. And I'm not saying that they will, but if they can play like this, and it looks like Simeon's going to be their guy going forward. So that's going to be interesting. I think that the Saints might have something cooking. Again, not saying that they're going to be a fantastic team, but if Simeon can just do enough and not turn it over with Sean Payton's coaching, just saying, could be something there. Let's move on to the Deshaun Watson rumors. So we've been hearing for a very long time that Deshaun Watson was going to be traded to. First it was Miami and Carolina. Philadelphia apparently threw their hat in the ring because Jeffrey Lurie gave his team the green light to go after him. And now this came out yesterday that apparently the Texans have no interest no longer in moving Deshaun Watson because it came out recently that that he is settling his lawsuits. I have no idea what that is. So does that mean that he's cleared of charges? Does that mean that isn't coming his way anymore? Is he settling out of court with them? I don't know what that means for Deshaun Watson because that situation is so murky. And of course, we're probably going to hear something within the next week or so. But it looks like now that a Deshaun trade is not going to happen because, of course, we know that Miami was willing to make the move for him. Carolina was rumored for him. They're willing to trade 3 first-round picks and Christian McCaffrey for him. And Miami was probably willing to trade, God, who knows what. They're desperate to save their season at this point. I don't blame them. They don't have a first-round pick. They traded it to the Eagles, and the Eagles, they're loving this. Every loss that the Dolphins have is better for the Eagles because the Eagles are just thinking to themselves, oh, wait, this is the best. We get a top 5 pick this year, and the Eagles aren't that great. So, like, hey, we're picking top 10. The Eagles could have 2 picks in the top 10. 2 picks in the top 10. And if things just keep going downhill for Miami, that pick could be even higher. So I don't blame them for making a desperation trade to save their season, or at least make it so they don't give up a premier talent in the top 5. I don't blame Miami for scrambling, trying to save their season, but it looks like it's not going to happen. So I would not be shocked if this happened in the summer. If the Dolphins and the Texans maybe re-engaged. Now, that being said, Tua has played better. Not fantastic, but he's been better. I don't know what that means, but I imagine it at least will increase his value a little bit. And he still has first-round pedigree. There is something there. And I think that the Texans are eventually their asking price will lower. Now, if Deshaun gets this whole thing cleared and he goes through this settling out of court and then the lawsuits don't go through, then I imagine that his trade value is going to increase and the Texans might up the price. And that'll definitely hurt. But I would not put it past Miami to go make a move at the last second. Same goes for Carolina. It depends on what Houston likes more. I don't know how I feel about the Carolina deal, though, because, look, the Panthers are looking to move Christian. We're willing to move Christian McCaffrey for Deshaun Watson. I think, and look, I get that. They were willing to move Christian McCaffrey, but here's the thing. They just signed him to a big contract. And now they're willing to trade him? And he has played a combined, 4 or 5 games past 2 years? Maybe even just a little bit more? He hasn't played a full season in a few years. The Panthers are a case that you do not build your offense around a running back, no matter how talented he is. Because you are moving your centerpiece of your offense that you gave a hefty deal to, and now you're willing to move him. I don't know about you, but to me that says the Panthers might regret signing that contract a little bit. Maybe not fully. Who knows? Maybe the Panthers don't fully regret the deal. Maybe the Panthers are maybe it's just to sweeten the pot. Like, man, we wish we didn't have to move Chris McCaffrey, but if it gets us a quarterback, we will. Which, to be fair, yeah. Running backs are just kind of nice commodities now. They're nice pieces to have, but they can't change your fortunes. A good running game is important, but you can find 2 decent running backs and get same production for cheap. It's easy for them. There are very few franchise bell cows anymore. And the only one I can honestly think of now is Derrick Henry, which let's talk about him real quick. Derrick Henry is said to have suffered a severe foot injury, a bone injury. He's going to need he might need season-ending surgery, which, that sucks for the Titans. They were looking so good. Things were rolling right along for them, and now they lose their best player. Robbed of an MVP caliber season, Henry was looking good. Speedy recovery wishes for Derrick Henry, of course. Now it's Ryan Tannehill. We're going to find out just how far he can carry a team. I can't wait to see what he does. So we're going to see just how far Tannehill can carry this team. Let's move it. That's going to do it for NFL discussions for today. I know there was a lot out there, but I just want to hit some of the major headlines, some of the bigger stuff. So now let's talk about the MLB. World Series Game 5 was played last night. Astros win 9-5. Not totally surprised they forced this to a Game 6. Now, I know Atlanta fans who have that sports curse in their minds, the fear is creeping in. Like, oh no, we're about to blow a 3-1 lead. I tweeted out that I felt that the series would go one of 2 ways. that either Atlanta would end the series in the next 2 games and win the title, but if Houston forces a game 7, then Houston will complete the comeback. To be fair, yesterday was kind of a weird game. It was a bullpen game for both teams. Nobody had any starters that were really ready to go. Now, Houston is also limited in who they can pull up. I think the Braves will probably throw their ace. I wouldn't blame them. Just finish it now. As for the Astros, I don't know who they're going to throw. But their offense has been producing pretty well. It'll be up to the Atlanta bullpen to come in late in the game. But with the way things were going, I mean, when Adam Duvall hit that grand slam, I thought Atlanta was going to win. Like, oh, man, that's like a dagger shot through the heart of Houston. The Astros credit, they showed why they're here. They did not lay down. They responded. They proceeded to get in 9 runs. But it also showed that bullpen games are very volatile. And if you're gonna commit to a bullpen game, be ready for a dogfight. Bullpen games are ugly. So, not surprised that things went the way that they did. Now, don't panic, Braves fans. I know that the curse is still in your mind. You're probably going to throw your ace for game 6. So, there's a chance you can win this thing and end it here. I think that their best shot is to win game 6 and end it right then and there. I don't know how. Now, game 7 would be in Atlanta. But I don't know how I feel about that. Because the last time the Astros forced a game 7 with LA, they won. Now, I know the trash cans, the cheating, I know that. But I don't know if I would feel comfortable blowing the 3-1 lead and forcing it to game 7 against this Astros team. I don't know. The Astros right now just feel like the team that can conjure up momentum out of nowhere. They're dark magic. Some of the worst kinds of magic out there. I'm interested to see how game 6 goes. I think Atlanta wins it if their pitching holds up. If the pitching holds up. All right, so to conclude the show, let's talk about some more serious conversations. I do want to offer a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about sexual assault and things of that nature. I do think that needs to be said. So, let's talk about it. The fallout from the Chicago Blackhawks scandal has been all over the place. You've all seen the news. If you follow hockey, you've all seen the news. This fallout is far from done. Stan Bowman resigned as GM of the Blackhawks. Joe Quenneville forced to resign as head coach of the Florida Panthers, despite them getting off to an undefeated start. Well, they were undefeated, then they lost to Boston. And now more and more things are coming out. Kyle Beach, in a very emotional interview that I highly recommend you watch if you haven't already. It's 25 minutes long, but it's worth it. Came out as the John Doe in the 106-page report that came out about the Blackhawks, and it's in full detail. And I would recommend trying to read it, but it's hard to get through. I couldn't read the whole thing. It's very long. And it's very, very detailed. Kyle Beach coming out as John Doe in a very emotional interview, which big props, big applause to Kyle Beach for coming out and for saying what he said. That's not easy for him. He says he's now beginning the healing process. It'll take a long time for something like this. So, of course, kudos to Kyle Beach. But for the Blackhawks, this fallout is going to be far and wide because they covered this up for years. They knew what was happening and chose to neglect it. And now you have players like Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, people like that, Duncan Keith, saying, "Oh, we didn't know. The hell with that. You knew. Beach reported that players mocked him. They said things like, "Hey, how was the hand job?" Come on. You had to know. You were the captain of that team. You were the leaders of that cup run. You had to know. There's no way they didn't. And now the Blackhawks are requesting that Brad Aldrich, the coach who was charged with sexual assault and is now in prison, by the way, for sexual assault of a minor. He assaulted a underage child on a hockey team that he was coaching. That was another John Doe brought up in the report. And now they're requesting his name be taken off. Not when he went to prison, not when Kyle Beach came forward. Now they want his name taken off. What? Because of a PR stunt? It's too little too late. He got his ring. He was part of the parade. He got to hold up the cup. He got to have a day with the cup. It's too late for formalities. Chicago, you had your chance. You had your chance, and you blew it. It's too late for, we're sorry, and we did that. No room for apologies. You had your chance, and you blew it. This is merely just correcting a mistake that you already made. You don't get credit for that. You don't get round of applause, thumbs up, and smiles. You blew it. And this is far from done. I guarantee you this isn't the last we'll hear of this. This fallout is far and wide. One of the biggest scandals I can remember in my time following sports. I love sports. I love hockey. But sometimes there's some nasty parts to it. Those championship runs are forever tainted. And I do feel bad for Blackhawk fans. Nobody feels bad for the Blackhawks themselves because of what they did for the West, to the West all those years. But those championship runs are forever tainted because all of this happened during the cup run. This didn't happen in October and November during the beginning of the season. This happened during the cup run. Those championships are forever tainted now. Whenever you think of that championship, you're going to think about what's happened. I'm not saying that you still don't have some of those fun memories, but it's going to be hard not to have that cloud hanging over it. How do you not have that cloud hanging over those championships now? Those banners hanging up in the rafters, they're stained. That cup is stained. Even taking off Brad Aldrich's name doesn't change anything. The Blackhawks will now be the new punching bag of the NHL. Everyone's going to try to kick them while they're down. They're horrendously bad this year, and everyone's just going to go at them. They're bad on the ice, and they're bad off of it. I don't know how to feel from a Blackhawk fan. It's been a rough year already with the rebuild and them kind of being made the new doormat of the West. And now this. I don't know how to go forward. A bit of a somber ending, right? But it's just the way sports is. Been a crazy week. Crazy week. We'll be back here tomorrow with another show, and we'll be able to do some things. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. This was a fun first show. We'll get better, make improvements, but I hope you guys sorry about that real quick, but thank you guys for coming to the show. This was tons of fun. I will see you guys tomorrow. That is it from me. Have a good one.